Hi, I'm Ray Seahorn, and you are listening to Pluribus Diaries.
Well, hello again, everybody, and welcome back to Pluribus Diaries. I'm Annie.
I'm Jenn.
And today we are going to chat about episode 8 of Pluribus, entitled Charm Offensive.
Mm-hmm.
The director is Melissa Bernstein, and the writer is Johnny Gomez, who is new, I think, to the Vince Gilligan
the Gilliverse.
crew.
Yeah. I believe he is. He's had like various other writing jobs, and I think he's maybe a staff writer this season.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think maybe this is his first season's involvement with Vince. And again, just completely nailed the episode. How much am I loving the idea of a male writer being the exception instead of a female writer being the exception, as so often is the case?
And a male writer writing this particular episode.
Yeah, interesting choice, right?
And wonderfully. Like, I continually not that a male writer couldn't write a female romance like effectively, but it's just it was surprising to me when I saw that.
Yeah, I was too. Although we of course had a female director, which I'm sure brought her own vibe as well. Yes, and she has been part of the Gilliverse for a while.
Yes. Definitely an alumnus.
Yes, yeah, and again, and I think she was an executive producer on, is it Better Call Saul, or maybe Breaking Bad as well, but definitely Better Call Saul. I think she was an exec producer. Yeah, so she's been quite involved, but not an exec producer this season, but doing this as a director.
Yeah, let's talk first about this title, Jenn. Charm Offensive.
This is gonna do it. However we interpret, I'm just gonna say this. However you and I interpret this title is going to determine how we discuss the rest of the episode. So what do you want to tell me what your interpretation of it is?
Okay. First of all, I need to say my feelings on the events of this episode have vacillated greatly.
Yeah, me too.
Like which I think is one of the great things about this show is that anyone who knows me, I'm a team camp person. I'm like, okay, I'm on this camp, I'm in this team, and I'm gonna stay there. And like, I'm very firm in my opinions. I'm very passionate in my opinions, and I will only change my mind if given really, really valid evidence.
Yes. But you will occasionally change your mind. But yes, you're very much an evidence-based person.
Yes, yes. But with Pluribus, I feel like, and I think this is one of the great things about the show, is that it's just constantly making me look at things from both perspectives, constantly making me think things from both sides. So to answer your question, to me, charm offensive is it could be, is Zosia the one on the offensive, or is Carol the one on the offensive, or are they both? And my answer is that this entire episode and the way that it's written and directed and the way that it's performed is a game. Is like almost like a game of strategy between the two of them. They're kind of playing each other, but there's also some real stuff happening. And it's just, it goes back and forth from one to the other, what's real, what's fake, until it kind of reaches the climax. And then I have very different feelings about things like that. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I see it as a game between the two of them.
And I feel like you've articulated exactly my feelings as well about this episode and about the charm offensive. At first, I was in the beginning of the episode, I was like, and maybe I was sort of prejudging it based on the title going into the episode. I was like, okay, this is Carol. She's going on a charm offensive with the Hive and trying to convince them that she's with them now. But then I kind of realized, oh no, wait, this can go both ways. This is going both ways. Charm offensive, of course, being like, I'm going to be charming to kind of win you over to my side. And I went back and forth through the episode. And in the end, I came, I think, to more or less the same conclusion as you did, which is they're both on a charm offensive. They both have their own agendas, but that doesn't mean that everything they're doing is false or an artifice. There's also real things going on as well. And it vacillates, and sometimes more than one of those things is happening at a time. And it's very complicated, and it makes my tummy feel confused. I don't know how to feel a lot of the time in this episode, which throws me, but is, I mean, obviously a sign of a really strong episode if I'm constantly thrown off about how I should feel.
Absolutely.
I also really like your point about the game. I hadn't thought about that, but you're absolutely right. There's a lot of game imagery throughout this episode. So yeah, a game is being played.
And it's interesting, the thing about the games, like we've brought this up before on the pod, talking about how the Hive can't play games with each other because they know everything. And it seems like Carol's kind of coming to that realization that like, doesn't matter what game we play, I can't beat you. Like I have no advantage. And that's kind of an interesting, metaphor for what's going on here. But also just the idea of they're kind of playing each other, like they're bluffing each other. We don't know what's real. Even Zosia says throughout the episode many times is like, keep playing and you'll find out. Like stuff like that. It's all like, And then at what point is this a dangerous game? I have a feeling it's going to be a very dangerous game for Carol, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
It's great point about that line. Keep playing and you'll find out. I think I think we all have to keep playing and find out. I think that they're even bluffing themselves sometimes as well as each other. It's so interesting and complicated, and I'm looking forward to getting into it with you.
I really, really liked this episode. I don't know. I have lots and lots of feelings about it, but that's a good episode. That makes a good episode.
If it makes you feel a lot of things, it's absolutely a good episode.
Yeah. Well, let's get started here with this opening scene. I have a lot to say about this too. Okay. So we see a croc, but not a crocodile, a clog kind of croc, and some drops of blood dropping. And like you could tell we find out it's Menusos coming to. Again, one of these lovely little Vince Gilligan openings where you're not quite sure where you are or what you're doing, but then you figure it out. Did you notice, Jen, that one of the drops of blood almost looked like it had a happy face in it?
I did not notice that.
I didn't notice it the first time, but the second time I was like, holy shit, that looks like
I'm going to check that. I'm going to check that. That's very cool.
I don't know if that's just my brain making things up or if that was something
I certainly wouldn't rule it out. I did kind of wonder where the drops of blood were coming from. I mean, I guess they're coming from Menusos, but like maybe they're drawing blood. But like it seems a bit sloppy to have drops of blood coming when you're drawing blood.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe he's kind of falling half off the bed, like he's kind of leaning over, and his nose is bleeding or something.
Maybe something like that.
Something like that. I'm not really sure either, though. It's a good question.
Yeah, it kind of gave me like Scully nosebleed imagery from season 4 of the X-Files, right? Those drops of blood. So it's just always in there.
Totally. I think the first words delivered in this episode are so fucking cool and interesting. The first thing he says is, "You're back with us," which after the ending of last week's episode, I think was such a cool way to open this one.
Yeah.
Specifically regarding Carol and Zosia, but just bringing that into this storyline. I just thought that was a
interesting.
Really cool
Yeah,
line.
Great point. And probably not what Menusos wanted to hear.
No, I mean, not at all. And
it's not going to comfort him.
Yeah, they're telling him that he's kind of doing better. He's responding to the antibiotics and like he's on the mend, but that he needs to stick around. And we know before he even gets up out of the bed that that's not happening. Like we
just like, this is just 100% pure Menusos kind of reaction. I like the fact that, we see the scalpel and the scissors in the foreground and that the camera focuses on it. And again, I'm thinking in terms of how things often unfold. And I thought, okay, and we're going to get a few more scenes in the hospital and eventually he'll use those implements. Nope. Right away, right in the next scene. Let's get down to business. I love it.
Yeah. Okay, I have a question for you, Jen, because I don't know if it troubles me or if it's right on track. The fact that Menusos can do all of this to the Hive, hold a scalpel to them aggressively, kind of, he's not shouting. Admittedly, he's not shouting, but he's being very aggressive, very negative towards them, and they're not seizing up.
That's exactly. Yeah, I've been wondering the same thing, and I keep thinking about: is there a difference in terms of how he expresses himself? Like maybe it's more an expression of anger, that he's not necessarily being emotional about it. That's the difference. That this is like a means to an end. He's just using the scalpel to achieve his ends, and so it doesn't feel quite as offensive to them, maybe?
But like, okay, let's unpack this. Let's compare this very, very immediate threat of a scalpel being held to a man's neck. That is, I am going to kill you if this doesn't happen for me. I think this is even very different than what Carol did to Zosia, because Carol wasn't threatening to kill Zosia. Like, her intention wasn't to kill Zosia. And it didn't feel as aggressive, in my opinion.
When you're saying about Carol and Zosia, which scene in particular are you referring to?
The when she drugged her and she went into cardiac arrest, because that was the precipitating event that sent everyone away from Albuquerque, and everyone had to leave her.
It did. Although they didn't season that scene either.
No, they didn't. You're right. Because, and I was thinking about that, because I was like, was that because Carol was being more calm? She was just talking to Zosia directly. Yeah. She wasn't screaming at her. Yeah. But then I think about what Zosia said in, like, was it episode 2 when she said, I think she said, "We're affected by your emotions. Yes. The negative ones, when directed at us, can be a little hard to take." Yeah. So she doesn't say anything about yelling. She says something about negative emotions. And I'm sorry, but I just, this scene, this feels like a negative emotion. This feels like one big negative emotion.
I mean, so I can't argue with you. I mean, it's not exactly friendly, that's for sure. I mean, it does raise, I mean, an easy answer to this would just be, it's only Carol that can do this. Carol's the only one that has this effect.
Right.
For some reason.
And something that makes me think too, something that Ray said in the interview, which if you guys haven't listened to it, you need to go back and check that out.
In Ray Seahorn's interview on Pluribus Diaries with you and I?
Yes, that one.
It's pretty amazing.
She even said that, like, it was like a superpower that Carol had that no one else had.
Yeah, she did.
Is that because she's a woman? I don't know. Like, I know, again, it's not like intended to be any sort of commentary, but it does feel like a commentary. It's like, okay, anger from a man is expected. Yeah. Anger from a woman is not okay, and it's scary.
I really like that interpretation. For me, it would be an easier apples to apples comparison if we saw Manousos being more emotionally angry in terms of expressing himself with a bit more rage. I mean, I agree that the act of threatening to kill someone seems aggressive, but I think I'd probably be slightly more convinced if we actually saw him kind of losing his shit with people, which he doesn't. He's a very even-tempered guy, generally speaking.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that almost completely, if not for the very threatening behavior of the knife against the guy's neck.
The knife against the
there's really no way to reinterpret that.
I don't know if they felt particularly threatened. I would suggest, and I'm not even sure if I agree with this. I'm not sure if I agree with myself on this, but it could be that they just know Manousos well enough to know that's not a genuine threat, that he would never actually do it.
That's interesting. I like that. That's fair.
That's how I'm taking it. Anyway.
Okay. I still feel, I felt a little different. I have to say, not like I care about Manousos any less, but it did make me feel a little bit differently about his character, slightly. Just the sheer bullheadedness and the sheer, like, just, he has anger, but it's suppressed. He's suppressing his anger here, which could be the difference. I just am, especially after the events of this episode, I am just less and less excited for him to meet Carol and more worried. I will say that.
Interesting. Very intriguing. I'll be interested to hear you expand upon this as we go.
Well, I mean, I just mean with the events that are occurring with Carol getting buddy with the Hive, Manousos is not going to enjoy that. That's my worry. There's really not much more to expand upon.
Enjoy that. But just make sure there's no scalpels nearby when he finds out. That's all I can say.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't know. I'm very interested to see this meeting, but I'm no longer on, like, the train that they're going to be great allies and they're going to figure this out. Like, no,
I know, right? Like, imagine the ending of this episode at the end of, like, episode 6, for example. It would have been so. We would have had
different show.
We would have been like, "Bring it on, bud! Let's go!" But of course, we can never have things that simple in Vince Gilligan land. Now everything is a mess.
Yep. And I mean, bring on the mess. Bring it on.
Yeah, we love the mess.
So he asks them. how much money he owes. You know, he doesn't want to be indebted to any of them.
Typical Manusos.
But it's always with the IOUs. He leaves the IOU for the real people, quote unquote. But like, is he ever going to have to pay that back if the real people don't return?
Well, I mean, it's the intention, I guess.
Yes.
But I mean, I am interested in his terminology there, right? Not you, the real people who were here before. He does not regard these as real people, which of course they're not. But I'm not sure if Carol would ever use that specific kind of language, the real people. Not you, the real people.
I think she would. And I think she has. She called them fucking pod people. She said they're fucking pod people.
I mean, they are fucking pod people.
Yeah, that's the same thing as not real people, in my opinion.
Just in the sense of she doesn't seem to think as much about the real people from before. Like, she does occasionally, but I think Manusos seems to be more consciously, frequently thinking about these are not the real people, but there are still real people. There were still real people around. Whereas Carol seems to have kind of lost sight of the real people a little bit, maybe.
But it also is, there's a difference of information, right? Like she knows more about what's going on than he does.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying that it's like just because she's a different person, just because she's in a different situation than he is.
So he takes the ambulance and I guess is driving from Panama. I like how he's in an ambulance, just like Carol's cop car. I like the little parallel of that. That's really kind of nice.
And he is surprised that he's in Panama when he finds that out. I wonder if he thought they were going to put him back on the other side of the Darien Gap to kind of impede his progress. I think he's surprised to find out that they're not doing that.
Oh, that's a good point. Like that they actually did help him out. I mean, obviously they did. They helped him, but like they could have just plopped him right back into the jungle.
I think that's probably what he assumed. Yeah. I think he assumed that they put him back, like maybe even back in his hometown, but certainly on the other side of the gap so that he wouldn't. I think he assumes at this point that they're keeping him, that they wouldn't want him to meet Carol. So he certainly doesn't believe them when they said, oh, we can actually take you to her. He's like, I don't think so. But this is the first moment where he's like, oh, okay, you guys didn't actually try to screw with me. So it was a surprise for him for sure. Very convenient. He never would have made it otherwise.
Right. And I think it gives him even another little like spark of hope that, oh my God, I can't actually make it there. Cause I bet he was maybe doubting himself in the middle of that gap. So.
Yeah, it's a big deal. Like, all right, the big hurdle is done. Just got to get me an ambulance and I'm there.
Yeah. So we're back in Albuquerque with Carol making pink lemonade. Jen, did this distract you as much as it did me? Who is making pink lemonade without any ice? There's no ice. I mean, look, like Ray did say she doesn't like to drink things chilled, but I think this is taking a little step too far.
It might be. I was distracted by many things because I said right out loud to my husband, I don't think of Carol as a pink lemonade kind of person. I'm just surprised she had it in her house at all.
You know what I like about that? And I only picked up on this maybe like the third time I watched it through. I think this whole scene kind of made me think of, imagine what Carol was like as a teenager or a child. And the pink lemonade, I thought, was like almost like a little nod to that. Like, I'm going to make like a child's drink. You know what I mean?
I like that. I like that interpretation. I'm interested in the way that scene began. Like a very cool shot from like the water's point of view. Yeah. But it doesn't. The first thing I thought of was blood. It looks like blood entering water.
Yes.
And which kind of, I think, maybe echoed Manusos's drops of blood, and kind of maybe there's like, I don't know if I'm overthinking it, but maybe a little parallel in their journeys, like the physical pain that Manusos is going through and the emotional pain that Carol is going through, but they're both going through this journey. And it could also be some kind of foreshadowing. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. The first thing I noticed about this scene, but besides the lack of ice, was Carol obviously is just behaving very different. And I want to say in a very un-Carol-like, but I don't know if that's even true. Is this vulnerable Carol? Is she performing? Is she, because I don't feel like she's performing, because I think is 100% genuinely lonely. She does not want Zosia to leave. So it's like she's playing people pleaser, which she's not used to doing. So it's awkward and it's all uncomfortable.
Very awkward and uncomfortable. It is very un-Carol-like. At least it feels un-Carol-like to us, because we really only know Carol from a couple of brief scenes from before the joining, and then everything after. So we know Carol in crisis mode. We don't really know Carol in non-crisis mode that well, but it's certainly very different from how we're used to seeing her. And this was part of what I found consistently off-putting about this episode, is how un-Carol-like Carol was acting a lot of the time, and it was throwing me.
Yeah. But I mean, I think that's part of the whole like charm offensive. It's like she's doing it so that Zosia won't leave her, because she just can't bear that again. I think that's the dominating motivation right now. But then that also bleeds into, you know, her other motive, which is to get information, which is eventually what this turns to, is like she's gathering more information. So I feel like the entire episode is this push pull of, is this an act? Is she having real feelings, or is she just trying to like, is she back on her mission? Like it's kind of unclear the whole time, and it could be everything. And I think that's most likely the answer.
Yeah, it could be both of those things at once at any given time, I think. One thing I was on that subject, one thing that I was thinking about through the episode is, if this is an act, it's a very good one, even in moments when it seems more likely to be an act. And for a while I was thinking, I'm not sure that Carol has it in her to kind of play a role like this. But then, of course, I remembered episode scene number 1 with Carol, where she plays this whole role for hours, one assumes, at this book reading, where she's very not her usual Carol self. She puts on this whole act as enthusiastic romance writer for her fans. And so it does plant the seed for me that she is capable of putting on an act for quite a long time. So that kind of feeds into this sort of uncertainty about whether much of this is real and how much of it isn't. I think there's moments where we can see one or the other, but a lot of the time I really don't know.
There's lots of please and thank you, though. That was another thing I noticed.
Yeah. Again, very not Carolish.
Right. And I mean, again, we say not Carolish, but I don't mean to imply or even think that Carol's not the kind of person that says please and thank you in general, but she doesn't say it with the hive.
Never.
So never. And I mean, that's not true. She did say it a couple times. Actually, it's funny because I was rewatching the show recently, just kind of rolling through
the whole thing. All right.
Yeah. And there are a couple times where she says please and thank you.
Okay.
But it's kind of in like a kind of throwaway way.
Right.
If you want me to tell you those times, I will.
I kind of do, actually, because I've forgotten them.
In the Air Force One, when Zosia gets everyone's attention, she looks at Zosia and goes, thank you. And then again on the plane, she said thank you for something else. I don't remember what it was, but I can see her sitting in the seat, and she said thank you. But again, it was just a very brusque kind of throwaway thank you, not like a meaningful thank you. Like these ones are meaningful, and they're genuine, I think.
Yeah, fair.
They're kind of having this awkward conversation where Zosia says, you know, the O'Keefe looks really good here. And Carol's immediately kind of like, I was gonna put it back. Like this is like when you get caught shoplifting, kind of like that vibe. That's the vibe I got.
Oh yeah, she was so like, I love her whole elaborate story about the animals possibly getting in and rubbing up against the painting. It was much really good humor in that tense scene. We needed a little levity for it as viewers at that moment. So.
I always like in scenes when I feel uncomfortable. It always makes me feel better when the people in the scenes are also feel uncomfortable. Otherwise, I'm just like, why am I feeling weird about this? I don't feel good, but it's awkward, and Carol's awkward.
Yeah, and we're not used to seeing Carol awkward like this.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting too is that when Zosia suggests, "Would you like us to like lock up the museums?" And she's like, yeah, that'd be good. I found it interesting that, like, obviously this is another thing to our point of like, I think this is going to come up later too, Jen, when we talk about the book, her writing her Waikaro book. Right. These guys, the Hive guys, they don't give a fuck about art. They just don't care. They don't
seem to. Yep. There's no evidence that they do.
If they cared about the art not getting rubbed up by animals, they would have already locked the museums down.
Yeah. It didn't occur to them.
She's happy to do it for Carol, to make Carol happy, but they don't give a fuck.
Yeah. And they don't care that she's taken the O'Keefe. It doesn't matter to them. Someone might as well enjoy it, I guess. If it makes you happy, fine by us.
Right. And what I find so interesting about that is, though, like, obviously they have consumed all the art. They've consumed all the writing. They've seen everything. They know everything. And they think it's all wonderful, right?
Yeah.
But like we said before, if it's all wonderful, then none of it is wonderful.
Yeah.
That's kind of where we're at.
It doesn't have that impact for them.
And they have seen it all. So it's almost like, I've seen it already. I don't need to see it again. Because what good would that do?
Like, we're done with it now.
Exactly. That's what it feels like.
It doesn't serve any purpose for us.
Exactly. Like, which I also found interesting, not to jump around. We might have to jump around when they later bring up the fact that they think Carol's writing Recaro again. And they're so excited because they have something new to read. Like that really hit me because it's like, there's nothing for you guys that unless it comes out of the brains of these 13 people, there's nothing that you're ever going to read again. But they do seem genuine. Zosia, whatever, seems genuinely excited to have that.
I think they are, because the idea of novelty is something that they can't enjoy. And just the idea of being slightly surprised by something that someone is showing them and telling them is so unusual for them. And as humans, we crave novelty. So they've got to be jonesing for it.
Yeah, that's interesting, though. It's just like, I think that whole aspect of art and new ideas and things like that, I find that whole thing so fascinating.
Yeah, my husband and I had this whole conversation about it. And I was saying how they can't produce art as a hive because art is such an individual expression. It's an individual's perspective. And a hive can't produce that. So they are dependent on these remaining people for that. They, of course, in theory, want them to become part of the hive, but I think that they certainly are going to enjoy some of the aspects of what they could produce that the hive couldn't, whether they would admit that or not. And something else I was going to say about this conversation, which kind of ties into this, it's interesting to me watching it because, and all of the conversations between Zosia and Carol, because Zosia knows everything, as we know, about that everyone in the world knows, but that doesn't mean that she knows what Carol's going to say or how Carol's really feeling. Carol can lie and Zosia can't. So there is a little bit of an imbalance in the sense that sometimes I forget that Carol doesn't like read everybody's minds. She can't read Carol's mind. She doesn't know what Zosia. Carol's going to say. Yeah, sorry, Zosia. And it's kind of, I think it must be unusual. It must be difficult and a little weird for a member of the hive to talk to someone when they have no idea what they're thinking. And I think that must be very unusual for them to navigate and a bit challenging for them to navigate. So I think that while Carol's very awkward in this scene, I think it must be a little weird for Zosia too whenever she's talking to Carol.
Yeah, I agree. And it also, like you kind of what you alluded to earlier about how this is kind of a nice situation for them. As long as Carol's being nice to them and like writing Recaro books and just living in her house and doing her own thing, like what's the urgency to turn her? There's still this huge urgency, this biological imperative to turn her. Like, so that keeps making me think that like, okay, there has to be, like we have spoken about before, there has to be a reason that she and the others need to be turned. Like that has to happen. It's not just oh my God, I'm a completionist and I need the whole box set. Like it's not like that. There's got to be a very, very important reason, because otherwise, why rock the boat?
Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't. Yeah, exactly. It doesn't really make sense from like a tactical point of view.
Exactly.
There's something inherent. There's something inherent in whatever turned them into a hive mind. There's also something in that is driving them to complete the collection. And it's. I don't think they can explain it. I think the only explanation that Zosia really gives is it's a biological imperative, and we just think it would be swell for you.
Yeah. But I mean, I just am saying there's got to be something more, right?
Oh, there absolutely is. I don't think they're necessarily even aware of it. The hive, I don't think even know.
Yeah, we'll get to that later when we start talking about Kepler 22. But
exactly.
We'll get to that.
The imperative isn't just on Earth.
Right.
The imperative goes farther than that, but we will discuss that more when we get to it.
This moment with Carol, when she finally, her voice breaks and she just says, I don't know what to talk about. I think that was such a beautiful delivery by Ray. I think
gorgeous.
Again, to my point where I was saying that this whole scene feels kind of like she's like back in her teenage years or back like a child.
Yeah.
That was kind of delivered like a child. Like,
it was a bit, wasn't it?
It kind of broke my heart a little bit. Like,
it totally broke mine. Yeah, I really like your point, though. I think that was a bit childlike and very vulnerable and very genuine. I can't buy that as artifice at all, because that seemed very heartfelt to me.
I agree. I mean, to her, it feels kind of like almost like defeatist. Like, this is my situation. Yeah. You're the only person that I have to talk about, but I have no idea what to say to you.
I don't know what to do. And it's a little bit broken sounding, kind of.
Yeah.
And like, she wishes she could do better, which is also a little bit maybe childlike, like you're saying. Like, agreed. I don't know what I'm doing and I wish I did. I wish I could be more grown up or something like that. Yeah. It's a very complex emotion going on there.
And again, just one little line and one fabulous performance. Just very well done.
Breathtaking, gorgeous.
Yeah. Okay, so let's start the game, the discussion about the board games here.
Time to play a game.
Yeah, Zosia's the one who suggests the game, which might be pertinent. And I do like how Carol's going through the games and she's like, bananagrams? No, you know all the words. Like and then she goes, chess? No.
Yeah, no Jesus, way. No.
Jesus, no.
And she's missing the white rook, which my husband and I have discussed at length since then, because he and I play chess. And at first it was just a practical thing. Like, how do you lose a rook? So I have this whole backstory that Carol, or maybe even Helen, got pissed off when they lost the game and took the rook and threw it across the room, and it's never been seen since. So now, ever since we watched that episode when we play chess, at the end I pretend to throw the rook in rage, because I've actually lost every game since then.
Oh my God, I love that. I love that you guys play chess. I love like the Jenn and Sandy lore. That's amazing.
It's a little Jenn and Sandy lore. Neither of us are like chess masters, but we're at the same level, so it's fun for us to play.
First of all, I wanted to point out that Carol said, when she was talking about the game Risk, she said, I'm not sure why we even have that one. It was a we. Yeah. It was a tiny throwback to Helen.
Thank you for remembering Helen, Carol.
It's speaking in the present in a way.
Yeah.
But okay, speaking of Helen, I need to go back to the chess, because this was my interpretation and it's kind of fucked up and heartbreaking. And so be prepared.
Oh God. All right. Bring it on.
Okay. Zosia saying, you're missing a white rook, but we can get you a new one.
Oh, no. You don't even have to say anything. It's exactly how you said it.
Yep.
It's just, I'm getting it.
I cannot, it broke my heart, because first of all, it made me think Zosia knows exactly what she's doing.
Oh, she does.
You lost your rook. She died in the joining, but we can get you a new one. No worries. She's right here. She's in Raban. Look, she's your perfect fantasy. She's here. We're here. We can replace your rook.
Yeah.
Carol. And
get you a new one.
While that's clearly the intent here and that's what's happening, it's just, it's heartbreaking to me that she says it here so brazenly and so candidly. And it just kind of made me a little mad at Zosia, honestly.
Yeah. Great. I was so busy thinking about how would you lose a rook that I hadn't thought about that interpretation, but yes, absolutely. Very much what's being said.
Again, going to my point about this whole episode being a game, and this whole episode almost being like one big game of chicken, just between the two of them.
Yeah. So interesting and complex, and beautifully acted by both Racey Horn and Carolina Vidra, who I think is just brilliant. And glad that we saw so much of her through this episode so that we could get to enjoy her performance.
Yeah, I feel like we got to see more Zosia in this episode than we really have the entire. I'd be curious to kind of like tally up the actual screen time and see, because I think that she probably had more screen time in this episode than all of the other ones combined. I
think very close to it, if not that amount, because way more, like a very Zosia heavy episode, which I enjoyed.
But yeah, and I did too. And it was a good way to get to know her more. I'm using quote marks because how much can we get to know her? But like,
this is the question.
It's putting us in Carol's position. Like Carol is having so much more exposure to her that I can see how throughout the course of this episode, you can sort of trick yourself into thinking like this is a real true companion. You could trick yourself into thinking that.
Absolutely you can. I mean, I'm not going to cast aspersions here, but it makes me think a bit about in this world that we're currently in, with AI being what it is, that there are people that feel that they have created an AI companion for themselves and feel it very deeply and very meaningfully. So it just says to me how the brain we can very easily convince ourselves that something that isn't necessarily a real human being can feel like a real human being. And as humans, we're just hardwired to see that.
Yeah, I agree. Or even like, and I bring it up too, because Carol mentioned it back in episode 2, the sex doll, like the idea of like, there are probably plenty of people out there who like have, you know, for whatever one reason or another, turn their back on seeking real human companionship and have made one up, like their own companion. And I'm not necessarily saying that's what's going on here, but it's just a comparison.
It's something that we do as humans.
Yeah, you will. Even when you anthropomorphize things and you because you need that, like you need to have that sort of connection.
We need to have that sort of connection. I mean, I'll use myself as a bit of a brief example. I have had dogs for, many years. I don't have kids, but, I still have those sort of maternal instincts. And so I kind of use them on my dogs. And I think that when we have those instincts and feelings as humans, we'll direct them towards something.
They have to go somewhere. Yeah.
They got to go somewhere. And so I think that could very well what's happening here.
Yeah, totally. But yeah, I have a lot more to say about this relationship, but we'll say that
we'll talk about it as we go.
As well. Yeah.
This is just going to be fascinating to unravel it.
Yes.
Like the layers of an onion.
Yes. But this is where Zosia says, she suggests that they play Spit because she knows she used to play it with her cousins.
Do you know this game? Do you know this card game? Is this something Americans know?
Not really. I know of it, but it's not a game that I ever played or grew up with. I don't know how. I couldn't tell you how to play it, but I've definitely know of it. Like I've seen people play it. I don't know how to play it though.
I don't know of it, and my Scottish husband had never heard of it, so we were like, okay, whatever. It looks like fun though.
Yeah, I actually don't. This isn't. My family's a card family. Like I grew up playing cards, but this just was not one of the games we played. So I don't know. Right. I'm not super familiar with it.
I played quite a lot of cards growing up too, but I grew up in Nova Scotia where cards are very big.
Nice. But anyway, it's called Spit, and they don't know the name, where the name came from. Which I think my husband has played this game, and he goes, "Yeah, I've always wondered why it's called that because it doesn't make any sense." Like, so that is funny. Little in joke maybe for the people who play this game. I don't know.
Yeah, it's an interesting question and an interesting sort of little insight that Zosia's not like an omniscient god. She just knows what other people know.
Right. And it says, this is when she said, Carol said, "Are you letting me win or do you just suck at this game?" And then Zosia says, "Keep playing and you'll find out."
Yeah.
Another little clue in there.
A little clue. And also we see, this is Zosia getting a little saucy, which we see more of through this episode. And I think Zosia knows because she knows a lot about Carol and what it takes to woo Carol, that being a little snarky, kind of teasing, kind of ribbing, that's flirting to Carol. That works. That works when it comes to flirting with Carol, and she's doing it.
But again, it's like, I don't know. It makes me feel some kind of way because she's just gathering this information and using it. That like there's no way Zosia can make a choice. She can't make an active choice to behave as herself. Yep. So it's just, even though she's saying and doing all of these things that are working on Carol, it's all fake. Like it's just it
can never really be real. Not as Zosia. It's just I mean, we see moments. There's moments. And I don't know if it's the real Zosia peeking through for a second or if hive mind Zosia is just getting really good at acting like a real human because, like that moment when she says, keep playing and you'll find out. That feels very human, the way she said it. She doesn't sound quite like hive mind Zosia when she says that. Right. And it throws me off, makes her seem more human. And I don't know if that's just she's getting good at pretending to be human or if that's just a little glitch in the hive mind. I don't know.
It's okay. I struggle with when you're saying not a real human because I think they are real humans. They're humans, but they're just altered. So
they are.
I don't want to say that they're not real humans because they are human beings, but it's like they're not necessarily capable anymore of behaving the way that a human like you and me would behave.
Well, I guess that's the question.
I guess that's what you mean when you say not a real human, but I
don't know. Like, to me, I'm not sure if they are capable of acting outside of the hive mind. Like, I think there's like a hive mind behavior. There's a certain hive mind vibe. And I think that they act a certain way normally. And we don't see them doing things like, making snarky little comments and things like that. Now, it could be that they do. Who knows? Maybe in the hive mind, they're sending out snarky comments to each other all the time. But it just doesn't, up until now, we've not seen them acting that way. And so just my interpretation is that there's a hive mind way to behave, and then there's a human way to behave. And of course, they're humans in body, but I don't think they're humans in mind. And so that's the distinction for me.
Okay. That totally makes sense. And that's totally valid. It's hard for me to articulate kind of how exactly I feel about the way they operate, but I think I have something else to say on this, and I'm sure it'll come up later.
Okay.
So
this is the heart of Pluribus, right? This is always with the question, what makes someone human? Are they still human? What makes them human? These are the big questions. We're doing the big questions here on Pluribus Diaries.
Yeah. Well, she brings up the idea that, do you want your cousin to visit you? And Carol goes, is it going to be just like talking to you? And she's like, yeah. So she's like, no, don't bother. What's the point?
Yeah. And interesting insight into Carol's family history, that she hasn't seen him since Christmas 2005.
Yeah.
So clearly not close with that particular cousin, and perhaps with her family at large. It's possible. And also, I find it interesting that Carol says, he didn't want to see me these past 41 days, so why bother now? There's just a little bit of like resentment maybe there. But I find it interesting that she's directing that at her cousin, but not at Zosia. She doesn't seem to feel that way about Zosia. She's not like, well, you didn't want to see me for 41 days. Why do you want to see me now? It's interesting that she doesn't think of Zosia in the same way.
Yeah, like she can't say, hey, so can I talk to him right now? Because there is no him. She's him. So you're right. But like, again, it's this whole think of like, okay, how do you think of it? How do you think of Zosia? She's starting to think of Zosia as a person of her own individuality, even though she's not. Like,
I think she is.
Yeah. So it's like, no matter what, after a certain amount of time, you're just going to start to trick yourself into thinking that, even if it's not the case. So
it's just hard not to. Yeah.
It's hard not to. And it's already happening. So
I think it is.
Good point. So they go outside. Everyone's back in Albuquerque, apparently. I kept talking about if the comeback was going to be gone off the cul-de-sac, but she asks them to power wash it. Yeah.
Which is interesting. So that Google Earth image that we've now mostly all seen must have just been brief. Yeah.
Yes, it really caught it in that brief window, who could have been months, that they were filming that scene. That's when the Google Earth snapped the photo, because it's obviously gone now.
It is good. I think that's hilarious. I assumed it was going to be there for the rest of the season, but who knows? Maybe they filmed that scene for whatever reason, the last thing that they filmed. Who knows? Yeah. Which would have been easier, I suppose, to film that last and not actually power wash it off.
That makes sense. They could have just filmed it last,
that was the
and
last
that's why it's still there. Yeah, you're right.
That's the last scene they filmed on that cul-de-sac, perhaps. What I was going to point out is when they're standing in front of the house afterwards, just a very tiny, but I thought interesting detail. In the background, we can see planes flying. One plane flies by, and I thought, oh, that's funny. A plane happened to fly by where they were filming. But then another plane flies by, and I'm like, oh, this is not an accident. This is the hive coming back.
Yep, I thought the same thing, because also the sound, you can hear the planes.
Yeah, you can hear it. Yeah,
it's very, very intentional. Yeah, you're right.
I didn't notice the sound the first time, but I noticed it the second.
Yeah, I guess they're flying people
they're
back
coming
in.
They're flying them in.
It made me think of the scene in episode 2 when they're landing in Bilbao, and you see the planes just like one after the other pulling up to the gate. They're like all in sync.
Yeah.
Crazy.
The planes just line up and they just come.
So she asks Zosia where she lives. She says, there's no more personal property. Where we sleep is just where we hang our hat, which is kind of what we expected. We figured, but we were talking about, how do they sleep? We're like, they all just sit in a room together and just like they stay awake until they're needed, and then they just go to sleep. And that's kind of like,
we were discussing this.
Happening.
These are the real questions that we've discussed these, and I'm really I was so curious to find out more about the hive.
Mm-hmm. And we got a lot of info about the hive this episode. That's like one of my favorite things about it. Yeah.
Love it.
They all sleep together, kind of, bunk style in an arena on the floor.
Yeah. It doesn't look super comfortable.
No, it's almost like, okay, comfort isn't one of their,
It's not one of their biological imperatives.
Yeah, exactly.
It works. It's like an emergency shelter in like a disaster situation. It's like it works, so that's what they're doing.
Yeah. And then Carol makes a funny joke where she's like, this is going to turn to that orgy scene in the Matrix movie. I laughed out loud because I love the Matrix movies. But then Zosia says, not unless you wanted to, which is a joke. But like, Carol looks at her like, okay, so you guys all would have sex. If I asked you to, you all just go at it. Like that was kind of, I think, what she was thinking.
I think Zosia was making a very deadpan joke there, which we've not seen Zosia do before.
Right.
And I think it threw Carol off because she didn't think Zosia could do that either. I think she really did think she was being serious.
But I think she was half in jest, full in earnest.
She might have been. I mean, it's possible.
If Carol said, I want to have an orgy right now, they would have done it. I believe her.
They absolutely would have. They would have done it. No question.
Yeah. So
I'm glad they didn't. Really it was fun. Yeah.
I'm glad they didn't too. It would have been interesting. I'll say that.
It would have been interesting, but yeah, very interesting. And yeah, Carol's baffled by it all.
So then we get to meet my new favorite character.
Yes. Is it Jordan? Yeah. So great. First time we've seen a dog or a cat or any kind of household pet.
I keep telling myself, like, I have never had an issue with the information distribution on this show. I think they've been doing it amazingly, but they're answering questions that like I've had, but aren't even super important, but they're answering them. Like they're really answering them.
It's great. I love it. I love that. I love that aspect of this episode.
Carol, I wanted to point this out, and I know that it's never just Ray, because Ray embodies these characters, but seemed so sweet and gentle and familiar with this dog.
Oh, yeah.
It made me wonder once again, like, did she ever have pets? Is she an animal person? Like, she strikes me as somebody who would be an animal person, because I think many introverts are. Or many people who are maybe not so interested in the company of people are very into animals. So it tracked. But she was very comfortably petting the dog. She asks, is he one of you? And she said, no, but he's a very good boy.
Which was quite a sweet thing to say, really.
That was probably my favorite Zosia moment ever. There.
Yeah. Wasn't it? It seemed very sincere.
It was kind of like a very unnecessary but complimentary thing to say about Bear Jordan.
It was, yeah. Aww. It was lovely. What a lovely line.
And so she explains that they don't have pets, but like obviously if dogs or if animals are going to refuse to leave their owners, we're going to take care of them. They're no longer ours. I thought that was really sweet how she's like, Bear Jordan is very fond of Malcolm. Like, it's not like he belongs to Malcolm. He's not Malcolm's dog, but he's very fond of Malcolm. And then Malcolm is just like, hi.
Yeah, that's me. Not really my dog, but okay.
Yeah. I thought that was so sweet.
I love anything involving a dog, and I'm excited.
Yeah, very cute. And so Zosia asks her if she wants to stay. And immediately I was like, oh, hell no, she's not staying there. Immediately.
Very convenient that Zosia happens to lie down with that nice space right next to her.
Yes, yeah. Which again, manipulation?
Yeah, I got to think so in that case.
I mean, look, Zosia, there's no one in that space. Yeah. Everyone else has got a cuddle buddy.
Everyone's got a cuddle, and she just needs to lie down right at that moment.
Yeah, right at that moment. Do you mind if we lie down? Like, I thought that was very, very sus. Yeah, I agree.
Very sus. I wanted to point out something as well, and this is, I have no reason to think that this was the intention. This shot of at the end, or at that moment when everyone's lying down, Carol's still standing up next to Bear Jordan, and they're the only two that are not part of this. Everyone else is lying down. They're standing up, very alone. Makes them seem very solitary. Also, and this is again, it's just my brain, and I think you'll appreciate this reference, Andy, because I know that this is something you're interested in. When I saw everyone lying down, for some reason, the imagery that popped into my head were images of the victims of the Jonestown Massacre.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yep. Okay. Yep. I'm glad I'm not the only weirdo that thought that, because there's something
I didn't think that, but as you were saying that, I knew what you were going to say.
Yep. All right. It's something about the fact that they're all lying down, clothed together, and it's just the image that popped into my head. And it could be that because it's, a subject that I have interest in. But of course, a reference to a death cult would be interesting in this context if it was remotely intentional.
Well, and Jen, I'm going to take this one step further, because at the very beginning of this episode, when Carol's making the lemonade, at first I thought it was Kool-Aid. It was Kool-Aid.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, she's finally drinking the Kool-Aid. That's kind of how I was thinking. I didn't go as far as Jonestown when I got to the scene, But you're right. My God. Mind blown.
I don't know. I have no idea that if that was the intention, but that was how I saw it. And not even like on a rewatch. And the first time, that's what I thought.
Okay. I love that you thought that. I kind of wish I had that thought, but I didn't. But when you just said that, now I'm not going to not have that thought. That's
You're
amazing.
welcome to it. Yeah.
The cult thing, and everyone listening knows how much I love cults, and you do too. We just love cult.
We're very into cults.
Is more and more feeling cult-like. The way they walk around, the way that they're just kind of blissed out, like everything's better on this side. Everything's and the way that like Lakshmi, for example, she can't quite grasp the fact that she's lost her family. You know what I mean? Like they're here, but they're not here. Like they've been taken by this cult.
Yeah. Never to return.
Yeah. The more I think about it, the more the parallels between the hive mind being just basically like the entire world is a cult. Didn't I say that to you, Jen? When
you did.
We were speculating about what Pluribus would be before we knew anything. And I was hoping it was something cult related. And I was like, what a cool concept that would be if everyone in the world was in a cult and you're the only one not in the cult, but you know that you need to free them all. You need to get them all out. Yep. And contrary-wise, that's how they feel about Carol. Like she's the only holdout and we got to get her in. You know what I mean? And that's what it feels like to me. So
interesting. And certainly the image of having such a large number of people essentially acting in concert together in one place feels very culty. Yeah. It's the first time we've seen that many members of the hive, I think, at one time. So very, very interesting scene all the way around.
And so we cut and we see that she is sleeping there right next to Zosia in the little convenient spot that she left for her.
Very handy.
Very handy. And Carol's being very handsy. How's that?
Yeah, very nice. Nice transition.
Thank you. Thank you. We pull out and we see that, and I'm guessing part instinctually, she just has missed having a body next to her. And part, like, again, it's always both. It's part, I do think she's developing actual feelings for Zosia. Yep. In spite of herself. Yep. And she's, she pulls it back. And I think that's, first of all, kind of just maybe afraid of her own feelings, what's happening to her. And also because, Carol's big on consent. She's just, I shouldn't be touching her. She hasn't been asked to be touched. I think it could be both of these things.
I like that. I like that interpretation a lot. And I think this is one of the moments in the episode where there is no reason for Carol to be faking anything here. Zosia's asleep. No one's going to know she's doing this. Exactly. So this is 100% genuine from her.
I agree. But genuine in that she's actively making this decision to do this, but maybe not because she maybe is just doing it in her sleep. That's the other.
For sure. Yeah. It's not necessarily a conscious decision.
Exactly.
But it's not an artificial one either.
Right. She's not doing it to fake out Zosia. It's real to her. Yeah.
It's real, but not necessarily conscious. Interesting distinction.
Yes. I like that. And again, like this reminded me of the scene in episode 6 where she's asleep with the wine at Diabate and he comes and brings the blanket, puts the blanket over her. You can always tell people's real intentions when one character's asleep. It's such a great little storytelling.
It really is, isn't it?
Payoff. Yeah. It's really nice.
Good point.
There's another moment that's similar later that I'll bring up when along these lines. Excellent. So they go home. Zosia's like, you want me to stay and make you breakfast? But it feels like Carol is really, maybe she was a little rattled by what happened. She's sort of drawing a boundary, I think.
A reluctant boundary, I think.
A reluctant boundary. And she doesn't, walk off in a huff. She tells her she had a nice time and leaves. And so it's not like things are awkward, but it's just Carol's mind, I think, is just in a turmoil. It feels like she's really thinking differently about things, but she's also like, she has to remind herself that they eat people. It's almost like she needs to go in and be like, don't let yourself fall into this shit. Don't let yourself, because remember, they eat people. And it's the way that she writes that with such emphasis makes it's a good storytelling, because that time has not faded the disgust of this for her like it has with all the other survivors. Diabate's like, I've had time to think about it. What, a week? I've had a week to think about it. I'm fine. Carol's had multiple weeks to think about this, and she is not fine.
Yeah, this is clearly like the worst thing about them. And I mean, I don't disagree that this is something that, and she does have to kind of remind herself. She feels confused and like, Jesus, I'm falling for Zosia. I'm falling for their bullshit. I do need to kind of remind myself and get myself back on track.
Yeah, right. And not just we're going to bring up obviously the romantic thing with Zosia very much in this episode, but not just that. Like, I think she's falling for the Hive in general, not like in a romantic way, but like maybe what they're doing is kind of nice. Like maybe this is maybe this is a good thing, you know? And
this
so
is nice. Yeah. Like so here they are. They're all together. There's no one's lonely. Everyone's together. They look after that lovely dog and it makes sense. You know, it's efficient. So, I mean, obviously Zosia's being sure to put on the best face for Carol of everything that the Hive does. And this is, she knows that Carol is lonely. And this is a great thing to show a lonely person, to show how wonderful the Hive is.
Right. And I really just love how, again, Ray gets to play all the things that we just talked about, blah, 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 and you have to listen to our voices in 10 seconds of just one look. You know, and that's all she has to do. And we know exactly what's going on. And all she needs to do is move that whiteboard over. And we're like, okay, the fact that she hasn't written anything on that board in 40 days, her entire, isolation period means that like she had given up at that point, like, fuck it.
Yeah.
And now she's recommitted. Like we are now seeing that regardless of what's going on with her and Zosia and regardless of how much of a good time she's having, she is recommitted. She seems recommitted.
She's at least consciously recommitted to this goal. And
this is like I think this is the moment in the episode where Carol begins to sort of take on the charm offensive. I think kind of like the momentum swings into her favor if we're looking at this kind of like a game.
Yeah, good point. And I think that maybe she has become a little bit emotionally recharged from that experience. And so she's less broken perhaps than she was when Zosia first showed up. She's starting to feel a little more herself, you know, the whole thing about the whiteboard. She's starting to feel a little bit more Carol-ish, which is always a good thing to see.
Yeah, exactly. I liked this cut too. I thought it was very funny how we cut from they eat people immediately to like them walking and Zosia's like drinking from her water bottle.
Oh, I hadn't even thought about that, but you're so right.
I was like, oh God. Anyway.
Yeah, what is in that bottle? We don't know. We can't see, but do we want to know? No, we do not.
I mean, look, as logically and intellectually understanding that I can be about why they're doing what they're doing, I'm never viscerally going to be okay with it.
No.
Ever. So, no. And I really don't think, I really don't think Carol is or would be either, which then opens up a whole new question for when they get physical later. But we'll get to that. We'll get to that. This scene, oh my God, these shots were so beautiful. I was just obsessed with this. I love the quietness of this scene and it was so beautiful. And again, I'm almost unsettled by how calm and kind Carol is being.
I know, right?
I don't hate it. You know, I mean, I think it's nice.
Yes, it is. It still throws me off.
It throws me off. And I hope we get real Carol back next episode. I really do
want real Carol back. I love her very much.
But it's a nice little reprieve. It's nice. I like it.
It is nice. I mean, I guess it is. I'm so confused throughout this whole episode. I'm so confused. But this is such a date, right? Every one of these meetings that Carol and Zosia are having is just hiking. A classic date. Yeah.
Let's play croquet.
Here's our second date. Let's go hiking. Our first date was, I guess, pink lemonade and board games. And for our second date, hiking. It's just so just very traditional dating activities. Clearly, that's what's happening here.
Yeah. So they start talking about the train horns. And I think this was beautiful because it was like they basically, Carol basically realizes that she hasn't told anyone this information, that she really loves train horns. And to your point earlier, when you said that they don't get new information, they don't get surprised very often.
Yeah.
This is just hearing this thing about the train horn is new to Zosia. Like she's excited to hear this, you know?
So excited.
Yeah. And then, Carol says that it's the loneliest sound in the world, which is funny because I've never consciously thought that before. But as soon as she said it, I could hear the train horns in my mind. And I'm like, she's right.
She's right.
She's so right about that.
So beautiful. And it's one of the few moments for me, at least, where when I remember she's a beautiful writer. She's a great writer because that's something a writer would think. And
it is. Yeah.
It was a beautiful line. And I did think it is a lonely sound. And I love the sound of train horns too. Not to say that I'm Carol or anything, but I love the sound of train horns too.
I do too. And I don't think I would ever have come up with that description, but like I said, like it feels very accurate. Yeah.
Love it. That's the best kind of writing, is when you read something and at first you're like, I never thought that before. But then as soon as you think about it, it feels right. Beautiful. Yeah. I mean, obviously beautiful from Carol Sturka and beautiful from Johnny Gomez, who wrote this episode as well.
Yeah. And then we get to hear the train horn because they can make that happen for her immediately.
Yes, they can.
And again, it's like, this feels very organic. It's not like Carol set this up to suddenly ask this question, but it worked out that way that she's then able to be like, how do you do that? You know,
takes advantage of that opportunity.
Yeah, I think takes advantage, but also is genuinely curious. I think she genuinely wants to know what is going on, but she also is, you know, we know that she's got that whiteboard in mind. Like she's coming up with information.
You know, sometimes when I see her asking these questions, I think she's just curious about Zosia as a person. Which is natural with the person you're on your second date with. Yeah. But of course, that's not really what's happening here. But maybe a little part of Carol's mind is kind of feeling that way as well. But we do see soon enough that there's a purpose to all of these many questions that she asks on these dates.
I really, really hope we get scenes of the Hive away from Carol or Manousos or any of these, because I just want to know from a Hive perspective how they operate. How do they go about their day? Do they just wake up and suddenly they know, okay, I'm needed over here today, and they just get up and they go over there and they do their thing, and then okay, now I'm needed here, and they go over there, and that's their whole life.
I'd love to see it.
I want to know. I want to see them, if they're so fucking happy and blissed out and cheerful. I want to see them experiencing that happiness.
Let's see that.
Other than you telling me you're happy, I haven't seen it. Like I haven't seen evidence of what's making you happy. The fact that the world is peaceful, that would probably make me happy too. But then I'd get bored of it after an hour. You know what I mean? I'd be like,
do. Absolutely.
Okay, the world is peaceful. Awesome. What's next?
Yeah, that's humans, all right? Like as we were talking before, we have a very human need for novelty and for new things in general. Yeah. And there's none of that. And there's no like challenge or achievement. And that's all missing. And I don't think we've seen, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think we've seen a scene of the Hive acting without Carol's presence, aside from the start of episode 2 when we saw Zosia making her way to Albuquerque. I can't think of another scene where we saw that.
You're right. That's the only time we saw that. And it felt, like I'm telling you, it felt very like not happy and very kind of boring and
very, very utilitarian is what it
monotonous,
like
utilitarian. That's a perfect word. Yes.
Yeah.
Why do I want to be that? Why do I want to live like this?
I'd also like to see, I'm intrigued to know what the Hive are like without Carol present, because her presence may influence how they act. And so what are they like without her present? Maybe there are secrets that we haven't been privy to. I think as viewers, we need to remember, we don't really know what the Hive is up to because we've not really seen it. We know they can't lie, but that doesn't mean that they're going to be telling Carol everything that they're doing.
Right. And we know that there's obviously things they haven't told her. They haven't offered information about what they're doing.
We didn't know about the people eating.
Exactly. So it's just, it's just fascinating. I'm very interested. Like if I had a wish list for things that we get next season, that would be on it for sure. I just want to know more about the Hive, how they're operating.
I'm so, and I think that's a testament to how beautifully well done those scenes are when we see them. And that's a testament to the background actors and to the people that are coordinating their movements and planning the scale of it. Everything is done in such an interesting way that I just want more of it. Yeah,
agreed. So when she asks how they do that, Zosia's explanation is that the body has an electromagnetic field. Sorry, I can't talk. She says, you have one too, just unused, which made me think of the God module in X-Files that Gibson right. Like you got these little things in you, but they're just turned off or they're turned on or whatever. That was crazy.
Very much, similar idea.
Yeah. Sorry to the non-X-Files nerds, but you know what?
We should never apologize to non-X-Files nerds. Just watch the X-Files, become an X-Files nerd like us.
There you go.
Yeah. Join us. Become part of the joining of the X-Files fans.
Yes. So she asks if it's like radio, which I think was a cool question because there's a lot of radio stuff going on. And she says radio is conscious, like talking, and that their communication is unconscious, homeostatic, like breathing. Like it's just something they're always doing, which again is just, it's not super explanatory, but it's more than we had before.
It is. And it definitely gave me a better understanding because I was picturing it more like I'm now going to direct a thought in your direction to do something, but it's not quite that conscious. It just happens very naturally.
Yeah. It just kind of is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
Yeah. So they, on their third date, no.
There is a little bit of a mood killer at the end of date number 2 when Carol very innocently asks, so why do you need trades anyway? And Zosia somewhat awkwardly responds with food distribution. Like, that's not how you want to end your date.
Yeah,
talking about with the thoughts of cannibalism in the air. So, but that's Carol picking another piece of information.
Yes, exactly. So they've fast forwarded their relationship to now having couples massages, right?
Yeah. Another very classic kind of date, but not necessarily third date material, but fast forward, like you said.
But I love how actually believable this whole progression is. I mean, I know there's sort of the age-old joke that like, what do lesbians do on a second date? Grab the U-Haul, right? Like that, something like that. I don't even know if that's the right joke, but that's the gist. But the idea that like, okay, they're progressing quickly here and they're having their very intimate date.
They're naked.
I like that they have this date because it really does organically turn into the conversation that they then need to have and that they need to have with the audience so that we can kind of hear what's going on so that we are prepared what is to come. Because, you know, we've been wondering since we learned that Diabate is, you know, probably having sex with all these women, consensually, non-consensually, we don't really know. But the idea that the sensation, like the physicality of it, seems to be restrained to the one individual. Like everyone is aware that it's happened, but they don't necessarily feel it. And Zosia explains because, which this makes sense, feeling everything at once would be unbearable.
Yeah.
But then my response to that was, well, and that's sure is convenient that you don't feel everything at once because I guess that's just how this whole thing works. But if they did feel everything at once, it would just be too much. But I did think that this answered a very important question. What did you think about this?
Absolutely. I agree that with what's coming later in the episode, it was a very on-topic conversation to have and a very sexy scene all in all. Very, I mean, as a couple's massage is likely to be, and very sensual. And we see that Zosia can experience physical pleasure. And it was hot.
Yeah. And I wanted to say too, they showed us we got to see her back with the scars that I presume are from the grenade incident.
Yes,
still
I presume
healing.
the same. Yeah. Interesting. I like the continuity and I like almost like it's interesting to see the reminder of how much Zosia is willing to give to protect Carol and a reminder of the past experiences they've had together that have bonded them and that might be one of them.
Yeah. She says in the last 10 minutes, there have been 1,674 deaths, which is one every 30 seconds, and 965 births. And again, this goes to the question, are they procreating? These are obviously, these are people that were obviously pregnant prior to the joining. But once 9 months have passed from the joining, if there are any more births happening, we will know that procreation is occurring. We don't, because we don't know that. That's a remaining question that I would like to know.
A remaining question.
One thing did confuse me though about this scene, and I wonder if it bumped you too, when she says, we're aware that you just got goosebumps to Carol. How are they aware of that if they're not connected to her?
I'm assuming it was from the masseuses, the people giving her massage, that they would have noticed
it. They can see it or feel it. Okay.
Yeah.
You're right. Okay, that makes sense.
That's how I interpreted that. Although what's causing the goosebumps? Is it the massage? Is it talking to Zosia? Who knows?
Right. I can't believe that like three rewatches and several days later, that just didn't even occur to me.
That's all right.
I don't think
that's
about
what I'm here for.
I don't think about you physically seeing goosebumps, even though you can. To me, it's not like it's like a sensation, not necessarily a physical, but it is. You're right.
It can be both, I guess. And I guess maybe that's what it is in this case. But, I tend to miss a lot of details too. So that's what we're here for, each other and our listeners as well, when both of us miss something.
Right. So to cap off the sexy massage date, they go stargazing.
Oh my God. Yeah, it's so cliched. It's all like, now we'll go stargazing together. It's too much.
But it's interesting because Zosia seems very, very eager or willing to share all this information with Carol. It's like they're definitely holding certain things back.
Yeah.
Like they hold back the HDP. Something I want to bring up, they're holding back the fact that Manusos is on his way. They are very aware that he's been on his way.
They know
for
damn well
a long
he
time,
is.
And they have not told her that. And that's another thing that pisses me off. Like, because if they had told her that, none of this would have happened. But
absolutely would have been totally different. She doesn't even know he got her video. She knows nothing about him.
Exactly. So again, that's very, very clear omission.
Absolutely. Good point.
But they aren't omitting information about Kepler 22b. Is that what it is?
Yeah, that's the planet, I guess.
Yeah, or the star, whatever they say.
I think the star is Kepler 22 and the planet is 22b. That's the way I understood it.
That makes sense.
Which I guess is a real planet, and it is like apparently quite likely an ocean planet. So this is all science.
Interesting. I didn't know that. I thought they just made it up. I know.
I know. I did a little Google search.
Nice.
I did a little in-depth Google search today, and by that I just looked it up on Wikipedia.
I'm glad you did it because I didn't.
Yeah.
But apparently, like you said, the planet is one enormous ocean. So that leads to my question, Jen. Where are the people?
Well, they could be fish people.
Fish people?
Yeah. We breathe air. They breathe water like fish do.
Okay. But then they're not.
I'm not sure how the antenna works, though.
But if you're saying that, then they're not human. They're definitely alien.
Yeah, I am saying that. Yeah.
I just said, like, do they live on rafts? Have they evolved to live in the ocean? But you're right. I guess it's fish people. They're aliens.
That's how I understand it.
We are going to say they're aliens.
Yeah, I think so.
It's interesting to just the point of the actual RNA sequence or virus or whatever, that it obviously is interspecial. Like it goes to different species. So that begs the question. Important. Yeah. Why doesn't it go to the animals? Or why can't it go to the animals?
Because it obviously can go to some species, but do they tailor it to the species of the next planet? Do they know how to do that? Lots of questions being raised in this scene. And also very interesting, I from this scene that I gathered, and we'll get into, I'm sure that we now don't necessarily have to assume that the signal was created on Kepler 22b, that they may have just been transmitting it and passing it on. It may have originated somewhere else entirely.
Right. Like they might have received it like a gift and they're grateful and they're passing it forward just like, the hive wants to do.
Exactly. So I thought that was very interesting, that there isn't necessarily just one specific source that had Earth as its goal.
Right.
This might be something that is an entity that wants this to spread throughout the universe and has somehow embedded that in the signal, this urge to do it. For what end? To take over the universe in some fashion? I don't know, but it puts it on a very different scale.
I agree. It makes me think differently about like the motivation of the hive, of the entity, whatever we call it.
Absolutely. This definitely put things on a much bigger scale.
Because a virus's only purpose is to spread. And
absolutely.
That's really what this feels like. It doesn't feel like it's not like for good or for evil. It just is. It's just more. Spread. Just go to the next thing.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I'm not like a biochemist, but I did think about viruses when I was thinking about that concept of it just seems to have this need to continue and to spread, which I think is basically how a virus works.
Yeah. So they turn off all the lights so she can see it. She learns about.
Of course they do.
Yeah, she learns here that they have they're working on a giant antenna. Like that's a huge amount of information she receives here.
Huge amount. I mean, and Carol asks the questions: what are the people like on Kepler, and what does that mean when you're talking about paying it forward? And are you talking about spreading it out into space and how exactly you're going to do that.
Yeah.
Lots of questions, but a very natural conversation. Doesn't seem suspicious. But she certainly, to Zosia, it just seems like, oh, look, she's interested in the hive mind. That's wonderful. That shows that she's considering joining us, perhaps. So,
but I don't think that Zosia's thinking that.
You don't think so?
No, because Zosia says later that she knows that Carol hasn't given up. She makes her admit
does.
it.
So I don't think Zosia's given up either on the idea of winning Carol over.
But I'm saying I don't think she's being mindless about it. I don't think she's like, oh, this is great. Carol's asking all these questions because she wants to join. Like, I don't think Zosia's thinking that. I think Zosia's being as forthcoming and as available as she can be because her motive is to get her to join. But I don't think she thinks that Carol isn't manipulating her. Like, I think on some level, she's aware that, okay, she's trying to gather information, probably because she thinks she can figure this out. Like, I do think that they think they know that they're aware that that's happening. But again, it's all part of this game. It's all part of this push-pull, like what's real, what isn't. And it's always both. I think it's just always both.
Yeah, and Zosia and Carol, and as well, Ray and Carolina are not giving much away in terms of what their true motivation is, because their motivations just fluctuate back and forth constantly. And it's like brilliant performance by Ray, brilliant performance by Carolina that we can't really tell.
Yeah. I think also, I just wanted to say, I think they're doing a really good job of building the tension between them, the romantic / sexual tension. Like,
it's true.
As unsettling as I really kind of find all of it, I can't say that it's unearned.
No, you're right. I mean, it's there. They've got the chemistry, no question about it.
Yeah.
And these dates that are intimate and emotionally intimate, physically intimate, it's building for sure.
So back at Carol's whiteboard, she's added to the list. I'm going to read off the things she's added. Communal sleeping, cuddle puddle, body heat, sex in big capital letters with a question mark. I think that's like, okay, she's wondering, do they have sex? Because of what Zosia said about the orgy thing, I think.
Yeah, and the fact that they're all cuddling as well.
Right. 8 is communicate through body's electrical charge. 9, trains to transport food. Ugh.
Yeah, I love that.
10, individuals feel, everyone knows, which I think is very to the point.
Yeah.
Signal from Kepler 22b, and then building giant antenna, using up power in the world to send signal into space. So these are all the things. She's learned a lot this week.
She's learned a lot. Those are very key points to have learned.
Couple days. I don't know how long it's been. Maybe it's been 2 days, 2 or 3 days.
It's very hard to tell, isn't it? How much of this dating is happening on the same day, like the massage and the stargazing could have been the same day. It's hard to say.
Yeah, it is hard to say, but it's been a few days, we'll say.
Yeah.
So this is when she runs out of whiteboard markers and asks Zosia for more. And this is when Zosia says that they're excited to have something new to read.
Yep.
We kind of already talked about that, but
we did. I find it interesting as well that Carol, very polite on the phone, can you do me a favor? That's not usually how she starts her conversations when she dials 0.
Yep, different. She's kind of altered her approach, which is, it's nice. It's nice. But what I liked about this scene too on the porch is that it seems like that had genuinely not even occurred to Carol to actually keep writing Waikaro. But then when she walks back into the house, she looks at the board for just enough for you to be like, oh, maybe she's actually considering it now. Maybe I should write more Waikaro.
Yeah, it looks like she kind of wants to at that moment, but then she has to like literally put that aside when she moves the whiteboard back again
to work.
Her mission. Yeah.
So this croquet scene, I really loved this scene. I thought this was really funny and sweet. They learn a little bit more we and Carol, we learn a little bit more about how their knowledge works. She asks if muscle memory is shared, and she's like, maybe, because it's true. Like, it is kind of a memory. It's kind of a neurological thing, muscle memory.
Yeah.
Even because you're still sending signals to your body.
Right. The brain is involved. Yeah.
And she does say, Zosia has never played before, but she has access to all the croquet champions in the world. But they are making a really, I think, concerted effort. And again, I don't know if it's manipulation or if it's real, to make her feel more human with each time we're seeing her more, I should say more individualized, because she does say to Carol in this scene, I don't know if you caught it. She does say to her, it's still my turn.
Oh, that's right. She does say that. She doesn't say it's our turn.
Didn't say it's our turn.
That's a great point.
And this is even before Carol is basically asking her to
That's
say
right.
I.
Yeah,
so I
she
don't
kind
know
of
if
just comes out with that. Interesting.
I don't think that that's
that's
a
an interesting.
mistake.
I
but
don't. Yeah, that seems. I don't know. It could be an interest. I'd like to think that that's a little glitch in the hive.
Zosia, yeah, like she, it's or you know, part of Zosha's coming out. I mean, like Vince has said in interviews that that's not what's happening, but who knows? Vince also is very much open to everyone's interpretation. So
yeah, I really want to like Zosha, and I can only do that if she becomes proper individual Zosha. So I think I have a personal desire for that to be the case. So I might be interpreting it that way for that reason.
Right. But is that the only way that you can fall in love with Zosha? That's the question.
I don't know. I guess that's the question we're going to be exploring. That's the big question.
I bet Carol's saying the same goddamn thing to herself every single day. I'm never going to have feelings for her. This is never going to happen.
Yeah.
And yet things bear out. Like she's able to sort of fall into the trap. The trap. Will Manuso save her from the trap?
Oh my God, it's a bit of a trap. But again, at this croquet date, Zosha, we see Saucy Zosha coming out again, you know, being all, maybe you just suck. And then they have the whole board.
Yeah, I love that.
And again, that Carol really responds to that. She finds that funny, and she, you know, kind of teases back, and it's a connection.
Yeah. And once again, I mean, I have to keep bringing up just how this makes me think of the AI, like how it learns from you and kind of can mirror your behavior and things like that. I mean, that's kind of what it feels like as well.
Very much does.
Yeah. I mean, again, I have to always disclaim, I know they say it's not about AI. I know it's not about AI, but I'm still going to draw the comparison because it's there.
I mean, I think that just as a very quick aside, that the intent and the ideas of the creators are one thing, and our interpretation are something else. And that's art. We see in it what we see in it, and that's okay.
That's okay. Okay, so this next scene. Okay. Zosha has asked, what's your best day as a writer? And Carol is sort of unable to answer that because she's kind of coming up with a smart ass remark. Like, well, that's just like asking someone what's your best day that you got your teeth drilled? Like, you know, but like, obviously Zosha already knows the answer.
She does.
So she takes her to Laughlin's, which is this diner that they have reconstructed just for Carol to experience. And the whole hive is performing just like with the Abate.
It's
from
exactly
the moment
like
she
that.
walks in, this whole thing is a performance, a fantasy.
They're doing all the things that the hive wouldn't normally do. They're talking, they're using real money to pay, they're eating regular food, everything about it. It's exactly like the Abate's party.
Even the cars are like driving by so that you have that ambiance, because you would need cars to be driving by. It would be really weird and odd if there weren't cars driving by.
That's right.
So
that's right.
Every detail they've thought of.
And it's very convincing at first, I think.
Yeah. So as Carol is telling her whole story about her sort of best day as a writer, or just that this place was so meaningful to her, and she is genuinely happy and she's genuinely falling into this, I think, this little dream scenario. I have to ask you, Jen, because I saw on Twitter, or I don't remember where I saw it. Sorry, I can't give you credit because I don't remember who said it. It's all over. That this scene mirrors a scene in the David Lynch movie Mulholland Drive. Have you ever seen this movie?
I have not seen it.
Okay, I've seen this movie too many fucking times to count. It's one of those movies that you want to watch over and over because you get something different from it every single time. But I have to send you this image of the shots and the setups, and you'd be like, there's no way this is a coincidence.
Yeah.
It's these two women sitting in a diner. They're wearing almost the same colors. The shots are the same. Even the diner was built. And I don't think this is a real place in Albuquerque. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, no, they did build it for this.
They did build it. So it looks almost exactly on the outside like the diner in Mulholland Drive. So it's like, this can't be a coincidence.
Very interesting.
And again, something else that Ray said in our interview is that Vince Gilligan does have a kind of an encyclopedic knowledge when it comes to shots and movies and things. So I have to think that this was a direct homage. And I have to bring it up because the content of the scene in Mulholland Drive is basically the blonde woman played by Naomi Watts is kind of in a fantasy in this scene. Like she's living out this fantasy that will later turn to a nightmare. I have to but she's falling into it, and there's more. Obviously, I'm not going to start talking about Mulholland Drive because it's too fucking weird and there's too much to talk about. But the idea of this scene and what this particular scene means is very, very similar to what's going on here in Pluribus.
Very, very interesting.
I had to point that out because whoever, and I don't think I ever would have picked up on that, even though Jen, watched this movie like a week ago, 2 weeks ago.
Very interesting, and very interesting to see the thematic parallels, that it's not just like a fun little, hey, let's shoot it the same way, but there's an actual meaning behind it. Very interesting.
But it's just this whole scene, going back to Pluribus, this whole scene feels like, I genuinely do think, and this kind of plays into what happens later between Carol and Zosia, I definitely do think that they're doing all this because they want her to be happy. I think they genuinely want to make her happy. But I can't shake the feeling and the fact and the truth that them making her happy is a means to an end.
Yeah, I feel the same. It's the charm offensive, right? It's this is part of it. This is a big part of it. This is a huge gesture. This is like, talk about romantic gestures. Like, here, I built this diner for you.
Yeah, great romantic gesture. I like that. Yeah.
Doesn't get much bigger than this. And yeah, Carol feels it. You know, this does mean a lot to her. And she shares a lot of herself with Zosia in this scene, more than we've seen her share with anyone before, in terms of talking about her past and her feelings about that. And it's clearly something that means a lot to her.
Yeah. But here's the other thing too. Everything she's sharing with Zosia already knows.
Well, this is it, right? This is why it's here.
And I think that's what the realization Carol comes to. I like in that moment, I think we see this waitress that they've clearly, made. I imagine this waitress had a journey much like Zosia's in episode 2. Yeah, suddenly she's in the middle of doing whatever and she goes, well, time to go get my wig and my waitress outfit and head on and fly the plane over to Albuquerque. Like, it's so fucking creepy.
And to put on this character.
Yes. Yeah. And I think as much as Carol probably is kind of enjoying reliving this moment, in the moment, she comes to the realization that this is all a manipulation. Like,
and seeing Bree, I think the waitress, is what snaps her out of it to a certain extent. It's like, okay, no, logically, this shouldn't be happening. And also at that moment, she kind of remembers, wait a second, this place burned down. So you built this all for me. You brought Bree in. Okay, no, this is weird. This is not normal.
Yeah, and that you all accessed this from Helen, which is also another thing that she's probably thinking in that moment. Like, I told them to not do that, and here they are fucking doing it, and I'm falling for it. I have to point out, too, there's also a waitress plays a very big part in the Mulholland Drive scene, too, like a waitress that comes up with
interesting.
Yeah. It's all very similar.
It was a very interesting moment. And I mean, obviously they are bringing up the big guns and trying to charm Carol. And she has this moment when she kind of realizes what's going on. I also kind of wonder for a second if that's also the moment when Carol snaps out of it, in the sense of remembering, wait a second, these are not dates. Zosia's not doing this because she loves me. This is a manipulation. This feels, now suddenly I feel manipulated. And maybe she didn't feel particularly manipulated before. She was falling for it to a certain extent. And this is when she kind of remembers, wait a second, this is a manipulation.
Yeah, but to what you just said, she's doing it because it's a manipulation and because she loves her. She does love her.
It's both, right?
That's the difficulty in all of this, is because I do genuinely believe that Zosia, aka the hive mind, love Carol. They've been telling us that since day one. They do love Carol. The problem is they love everyone.
Yeah, they love everyone. It is true.
Yeah.
And
one of the main rules: can't play favorites. Likes all jerks same.
Exactly. It's one of the main things that she knows.
Yeah.
But she maybe has forgotten it a little bit in the course of these very seductive dates. And very easy to start to believe that this is real. And this is a reminder that it's not real.
And Carol is here in this moment, back to Carol. She comes back to herself. There is no goodbye. There's no thanks for doing this. Nothing. She's up and she's out of there. And I loved that moment where you see, just like back in episode 6, where the hive just, all right, we stop the cars. We go back to what we were doing before.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Very interesting. And it is a much more traditional Carol behavior just to get up and not say anything.
Yeah, definitely. And I actually got to tell you, I was really relieved in this moment.
Me too.
She did that.
So
I was
relieved.
Oh, thank God. And then, little did I know what was to come. But I was very, 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 very glad that she was not being tricked. Like she was, I think this is the closest that she came to actually falling into the dream, falling into the fantasy before having to kind of wake herself up and snap herself out of it and be like, no, I have a mission. I have stuff to do. I need to leave. And then she's out of there. She's headed home.
Yeah, it is definitely that moment.
Then we cut right to her drinking again, Jen.
I think this is the first time we've seen her have a drink in this episode, which is significant in itself. So she's obviously in distress. She's kind of getting back to distressed Carol, who drinks when she's feeling hopeless, when she's feeling angry, when she's feeling all her negative emotions. That's when she drinks. So this is, she was feeling good in this episode up until now. She was happy. She felt like she was making progress with her mission. And now she's feeling a little less happy.
Yeah. And again, like this entire scene coming up until a certain moment is all negative emotion. It's all negative emotion being directed at Zosia, but it's not yelling. So maybe it's the yelling. It's the screaming and the yelling that they really don't like. I don't know.
I find it very interesting that we really have not revisited the question of Carol's ability to kill millions of people at one time just by getting mad. I kind of felt like that was going to be a much more of a through line through the season, that we'd see Carol thinking about it and like purposefully like, whoa, hang on, I got to hold myself back. I haven't seen that as much as I expected to.
Yeah, that's true. But she also hasn't interacted with the hive as much since episode 4.
Well, that's true.
She hasn't been interacting with the hive at all.
She hasn't had a chance.
Yeah. So this is the first time. And she's also actively trying another approach, which doesn't involve anger.
Yes.
So I get it. But like, even in this scene though, I feel like you can see Carol aware that I can't scream at her, because like at the point, even when we're jumping ahead moment, like a point where she's like, even if you leave me again, you could tell she's really trying to restrain her emotion in that moment, which makes me think she's kind of trying to suppress her anger throughout this entire scene. I think it's possible.
And I think I like that interpretation, and I interpret it more as she just doesn't want to show that vulnerability.
That's too.
She's becoming too emotional and too expressive, and she doesn't want Zosia to know how much it upsets her. She's, Carol is tough, and she doesn't like looking less than tough in front of people.
Yeah, I agree with that too. And I did notice that the comeback on the cul-de-sac is gone. So they did power wash it.
Yes, they did power wash it.
This whole scene where she comes in, offers her a drink, and she kind of, if it pleases you, we will have one if it pleases you.
Yeah.
And then Jen, the whole part where she's trying to would it kill you to say I? Would it kill you to say I? And so it does. It seems to be very difficult for Zosia consciously to say I.
She is struggling with that.
It does make me think that the previous moment was just a slip, like a glitch in the Matrix, essentially.
It had to be, because it's not something that comes naturally at all when she's fully connected with the hive.
Yeah. And then I really like, again, and we know Vince doesn't write to themes, and there's no real commentary being said here, but the idea that Carol is screaming at her that she can't navigate, not screaming at her, the idea that Carol is saying you have all the brains in the world, but you can't navigate a fucking pronoun. But again, I look at this from both sides, because you can say, okay, this is commentary on, hey, we should just let people use the pronouns they want to use. Like, come on, whatever. But Carol's the one who is refusing to use Zosia's preferred pronoun.
Yeah,
Carol's the one who is kind of angrily saying, change your pronoun because it makes me comfortable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's a very good point.
Zosia does not. She identifies as we. That's her pronoun.
Does. Yep. She's a we, they. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just interesting that this whole thing about the pronouns in just a teeny tiny little sentence, it made me think about lots of different things.
I mean, the word pronouns has taken on a rather charged meaning in our society today, relatively recently. So this may even have been written before it became such a big thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So the thing about Bree, the waitress, is kind of what starts this conversation, which to your point earlier, I think seems to be the thing that had set her off, and the thing that's really upsetting her. The idea that like, okay, how can this be a good thing if this person was ripped away from their life and their husband and like all of these, like, it's almost like this specific instance of Bree is what snapped her out of it. And Jenn, this is the single most infuriating thing I've ever heard Zosia say. I wanted to slap her when she says, we're not sure we understand what's troubling you. How the fuck do you not understand what is troubling her? And I again, going back to their inability to understand emotionally what is happening to Carol. How could Carol be upset? Like, look, with all of your enlightenment and all of your awareness of how good it is to be on this other side, you sure as fuck don't remember what it was like to be on the other side, do you?
Yeah, totally. It's so infuriating. And I mean, idiotic on many levels.
Yes.
I mean, again, they made a complete misjudgment when they used Bree, just as they made a misjudgment when they used Manusos's mother.
Yep.
The hive is just not that smart about people sometimes and has a hard time predicting their behavior. And even as you're saying, a hard time understanding their behavior. This is the kind of thing that leads me to say that they're not human, because they just don't get human behavior.
They just, and I heard, I don't remember if it was Vince or if it was Carolina or somebody said in an interview that they're very emotionally intelligent because they have access to everyone's emotion. I am not getting that at all, Jenn.
I am not getting that either. I think someone may have said that in the official podcast this week. And when they did, I was like, do they though? Or it might have been last week. And I was like, I'm not seeing that. I'm not getting the emotional intelligence, because honestly, she should have been at least a little bit smarter about what was going on here.
Yeah, I can't. That's something I'm struggling with. Like, if I am supposed to be thinking that they have access to all the emotional intelligence and humanity and that they're using it, I don't buy it, because I'm not seeing it.
I'm not seeing it. They are using, knowledge, and they know the kinds of things that Carol likes and the kind of behavior that she likes. And they're trying to emulate that. But all they're doing is faking it, like reading words on a page. It's not instinctive. They don't have an instinctive understanding. They're just recreating what they think Carol wants her to be, not because they understand it, but because they know it, based largely on what Helen knows.
And they can't read her emotions in the moment beyond, she's angry.
She's upset.
I have no idea why she's angry. Whereas,
what could you be upset about?
Exactly. Whereas, like, Helen would know exactly why Carol is mad and would know exactly how to respond, which is going to come up in a minute here. But the fact of the matter is that I got real fucking mad at that line. Let me tell you.
I believe it. I agree. It's just like, that's a reminder to me of, okay, this is not a regular human being here, because a regular human being would understand this.
And it makes me again think of, the house that these two are going to start playing for the next week or whatever. And even though Carol's going to kind of fall into this delusion of them being in a relationship, they're never going to have a real relationship. They can't have a fight. They can't disagree. Like, again, it's like I said before, peace on earth sounds great, but after a while, it's going to be boring. You're like, why are you always agreeing with me? Stop it. Like, you know what I mean? And so
that would be the most boring relationship, wouldn't it?
Truly. And I do think Carol could fake herself into thinking it's great for a while, but it's not sustainable. It's not.
You could fake yourself into thinking that it's great for a while. And I appreciate the fact that, Carol, on some level at various times in this episode, is falling a little bit for this. And I think, like, episode 2, Carol would never have fallen for this. Maybe not even episode 4. But I love the fact that they set it up with this lengthy isolation.
Yes,
and that
I agree.
There's a reason created for why Carol might start to fall for this, because she's so desperately lonely, and she's been so fucked with in the head by this torture of isolation that it explains her behavior really well. And I appreciate that they made the effort to explain that change.
Yeah, because I absolutely buy everything on Carol's end. Like, I know what's happening. I think I understand where her head's at and what's happening here. Zosia's a little trickier, but like, maybe not. Maybe it's super simple. Like, look,
I know.
This moment when Carol is saying, even if you leave me again, she's like, let's be honest, I like you. Yeah. And I like, and she's being honest. I like what you're about. I think she's really liked the things she's learned over the past couple of days. Yeah, but like, I think that's true. I know that you're manipulating me. I am aware of that. and I'm not going to stop. Like, I'm not going to give up. Yeah. And she's let down her guard, though, so thoroughly in this moment that the fact that Zosia seizes on it by kissing her, I think it means one of a few things, in my opinion. Yep. One, the Hive genuinely loves Carol, and they're trying to make her feel better in this moment. But again, only in the same way that they love everyone. Yeah. And she's also probably accessing Helen's memories, and maybe this is the way Helen would end a fight. Maybe this is how Helen, which again, stabbed me in the fucking heart. It works. The second thing, Zosia's somehow breaking free of the Hive and has individual feelings for Carol. That's another possibility. I don't buy it yet, but it's possible. And number 3 is they are definitely manipulating and taking advantage of Carol in a moment of vulnerability. It's the final card that they have to play is her sexual attraction to Zosia / Raban. She has to play this card in this moment. Like, she has to.
She has to, because she's losing. She's losing the game at that moment by quite a lot. The game is getting away from her. She has to bring out her biggest trick. And this is her biggest trick. And I think the 3 things you just outlined here for possible motives on Zosia's part could all be present at the same time to varying degrees. I believe that they could all be at play somehow. It's very complex, but I mean, that's how well written these characters are, and that's how well played they are. I believe that it could be all 3 of those things at the same time in some way. And we don't know yet which it is. We can't tell. And I find it unsettling that we can't tell. I don't know how to feel about it. Yeah. I mean, in episode 2, I kind of liked the idea of Carol and Zosia getting together eventually. Not this soon. Too soon. Yeah. Come on. Helen's body is in the backyard and barely cold. I'm not happy about that. So, I'm not opposed to the idea of them being together. There's no question they have chemistry, but I don't know how to feel about it. I'm like, usually when 2 characters that I kind of sort of would be fine with seeing together, when they get together, I'm kind of like, oh, well, this is nice. But I don't know whether this is nice or if this is terrible. And I'm really struggling with it.
I'm leaning more towards this is terrible, just because this is Vince Gilligan and this is not headed anywhere good. I mean, that's but again, this makes me think of her line at the very beginning when Carol says, "Are you letting me win, or do you just suck at this?" And Zosia says, "Keep playing, and you'll find out." She's been playing. They've been playing this whole episode,
and we're finding out.
Carol loses.
She does in this moment. Certainly, she does. She definitely loses this hand big time.
Yeah. Very, very hot kiss.
Very hot. Yeah. I mean, apparently I've read stories online that apparently there were some kisses, some takes of this kiss that were even hotter, that it was too hot.
How is it possible?
Inappropriately hot for the scene, apparently. Like, it didn't make sense for the characters. They had to leave them out. And I'm like, really? Because this was very, very hot.
It must be really hard to act while making out with someone, but they managed it, because I'm feeling Carol's just sort of hunger and desperation, and she's, fuck it, I'm finally giving into my baser instincts because she's right here and she made a move, and the issue of consent seems to be kind of off the table now because she made the move on me, like there's all these things probably going on through Carol's head when she's got that brief moment of pausing and waiting and waiting.
Should I? Shouldn't I?
Fuck it. She's right here. Yeah. This is my literal fantasy. How can I say no? Like, I get it.
We've all been there, right? This moment where we hold her back from kissing someone, or having that drink that we shouldn't have, or having that chocolate cake that we shouldn't have, and we hold ourselves back, and then at some point it's like, fuck it, I deserve this.
I deserve this. Exactly. Like, I have been through the fucking shit. I get to have some loving. I'm gonna have it. Good for you, Carol. Part of me is like, good for you, but the part that I'm not good for you is the psychological effect on Carol. Like, if I genuinely felt like this was just like a physical thing, like I need a companion. I need to have my sexual needs met. And as long as we're both on the same page and we're both okay about this, then that's okay. I can make that happen. But it doesn't feel like that, particularly the morning after. It feels like Carol's kind of going with it. She's going with this. She's not only going with there's some delusion happening here. She's like, I'm going to pretend that this is going to be great. This is how things are going to go for right now. I have this relationship now. She's really nice. We have the good sex. Like she's living the dream.
This is all I have now. This is all I have. She doesn't know about Manusos. This is life, and I might as well make the best of it.
Exactly.
Although again, part of me is trying to believe that when Carol is writing her new chapter the next morning, that maybe she's doing it to convince them that their distraction is working, and that
you think
he is trying to say, I don't think that the sex was faked at all. But maybe the next morning she's like, okay, let's recalibrate and let's just throw them off now. A time for me to get the upper hand. And I'm going to try to make them think that I am distracted. This is working. And here's a whole chapter that I can produce to prove that.
I like this read a lot because and again, it's open to interpretation. She could be really falling into the delusion, or she could still be holding on to a piece of herself, which I hope is the case. I hope you're right.
Yeah. Again, it might be wishful thinking on my part. I don't know.
But it kind of does make sense if you read this scene on the stairs when she has Zosia reading the book. The chapter. If you read that scene the way you're saying, that she's like, don't let me hang in. She doesn't. No one's leaving her hanging there. Of course, they're going to love it, Carol.
Yes,
they're incapable of not loving it. And I think there's a brief moment where she's like, I love it, and then Carol is kind of like, you could read that look as satisfaction that she's written something that is being liked, or you could read it as, Helen wouldn't say that, or this is working the way that I kind of am foreseeing. I can predict what you're going to say.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm having trouble articulating what I'm talking about.
No, I know what you mean. I think the conversation that they then have, the back and forth about how Raban can be a woman now, and talking about how it can be retconned or done canonically, which was from, like when those of us that live in the world of fandom, like we know that kind of language, and it was quite fun. Yeah. Carol was very excited to discuss this with Zosia. No surprise that Zosia's excited, because we've discussed how desperate they are for something new. But Carol was very excited as well to discuss this with Zosia. And I can't picture her having that kind of conversation with Helen. And it didn't feel to me.
But Helen wouldn't be acting like that. Like
she wouldn't either. Yeah. That's true. So I'm not convinced that Carol would feel that excited about discussing the plot points of Why Carol. I don't know. I might be wrong about that. But it seemed like maybe she was just overplaying the excitement just a little bit, maybe.
Okay.
I hope that's what was happening.
Yeah, because Carol has always known that her fans love Waikaro. Like, that's not like new information. Learning that Helen didn't think too much of it was slightly new information, maybe. But I also think she kind of always suspected that.
She was able to guess that might be the answer.
Exactly. But here, it's like she's aware. Zosia's not acting like a fan. She is a fan. And so she's getting this reaction, a genuine reaction, I think, from Zosia about her book.
Zosia's being genuine,
Yeah, and she's, again, maybe Carol's thinking what we're thinking, that like, of course you love it. You're all my fans. So like,
you guys would love anything I wrote.
My worst fear is that I turn Raban into a woman and my fans turn against me. Yeah. And so now I'm getting the experience of having what I've wanted coming true. And so again, this could be just Carol's doing this because she knows she can do whatever she wants with her character and everyone's going to love it. You know?
And it could be, and if that's that's entirely possible. And that could be feeding into sort of what you're saying about a little bit of the delusion. Like, she wants to enjoy this and she can enjoy something that she was never able to enjoy before. So maybe she's enjoying it now because she has the chance to do that. And that's all that's going on here. That's entirely possible.
That's possible too.
I think when Zosia says, I love it, that seems so genuine from Zosia, and like, that's a real moment of intimacy, I think. And that's a real moment of emotional connection when she says, I love it. That you can't help but feel something when someone says that to you.
Yeah. I have to go back for just a brief moment. The moment where we see Zosia waking up in bed alone and she hears Carol writing and you see her smiling. I mean, look, Zosia's always fucking smiling, so we never really know what she's thinking. But
No, we
like,
don't.
this is again a moment of her being unobserved. Like, she's not performing for Carol.
Yes.
So I think this tells us that she is genuinely happy that Carol is writing again. Like, there doesn't, or she's genuinely happy that her plan is working. You know, she's genuinely happy about something, you know?
She's genuinely, I mean, this is kind of counter to what I said earlier in this episode, which is we never see the hive alone. This actually was a moment when we see the hive alone because we saw Zosia alone. And you're right. I think you've delineated perfectly the different interpretations of why she could feel that way.
Yeah. So we jump ahead. We're at 60 days, which means I think it's maybe been about a week-ish.
Yeah, I was trying to remember where we were before. I've lost track of the time, but I know you are the queen of timelines, Annie.
Day 48 was the fireworks scene where she almost killed herself. And so I imagine day 49 would have been the comeback scene.
Yep.
And it's only been a couple days since then. So maybe day 51 was when they slept together. So I feel like it's been maybe 9 days. That's my guess.
That's believable.
So they're officially they got each other's class rings. They're they're U-hauled up, as the folks would say.
Yeah, they're having this domestic moment, very intimate. It's like, it feels like they've been together longer than they have.
Yeah. And it does feel like they're being very comfortable together. But again, it's like enough time has passed, Jen, where I could buy that in that amount of time, Carol is formulating her plan to continue working towards saving the world.
Yeah, entirely possible. She might have had enough time to kind of snap out of her, over sexiness. Yeah. And may have had, you got to think at least in that period of time, she's had the odd moment of reality. Well, we have this shot of her looking out the kitchen window here at the beginning of the scene. And at first I was like, what's she looking at? What's happening? And my husband immediately says, she's looking at the grave. Oh, yeah, and I'm like, oh my God, of course she is. But the look on her face again, it's like, what are we to read into this? What I'm seeing, again, possibly wish fulfillment. To me, it looked like she was fortifying herself. I feel like she was looking at that grave and thinking, okay, I have to do this. I have to do this for Helen and I have to do this for everybody. That's what it looked like to me.
Yeah, like it was definitely a moment, regardless of what she's thinking, it was a moment of real Carol there. I will say that.
It was. Yeah, like, definitely.
She dipped out of the fantasy for a moment there.
I think she did. And whatever that made her think, whether it was just guilt about Helen or wondering what she should do.
Even like Helen, I don't know what to say. I don't have any other choice. I'm trying to move on. It could be something like that.
It could really be that as well. So too soon again for my liking. But I mean, you got to think in the world that Carol is living in. 2 months in this world wouldn't seem like very long, but she's been through a hell of a lot in 2 months. I really shouldn't begrudge her this.
I actually kind of, I'm less on the side of too soon now because we've had this huge moment of isolation. I think that amped it up like exponentially, the need for human contact and human touch. Like if she hadn't been abandoned, I don't know if she would have made it to this point of desperation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. So, I agree.
Something else I noticed. Did you notice that she's listening to the radio?
I did notice. And you know that they're just putting that radio on for her. They're creating a radio station for her.
Yeah. I thought that was crazy. But I'm like, just to kind of, again, just to add to like let's make everything feel real for Carol.
Yeah. It's another fantasy, right?
The happier we make her, then,
make this feel like a real house, a real relationship, a real life.
Oh God, it's just so unsettling. It's so unsettling, the whole thing.
When you think about it.
It's like, I can't, as much as I, again, in the abstract and in the future, don't mind the idea of these two eventually getting together. It's kind of like, not like this. Like,
exactly. I would have really liked to have enjoyed it, quite frankly. This feels messed up. I'm just going to say that. Yeah. Whatever it is, it's definitely messed up. It's certainly not a completely normal and beautiful relationship. It's messed up on some level for sure. It's just a question of on what level. And I'm going to say, for those that are shipping Zosia and Carol, I have no problem with it personally, as long as you recognize how messed up it is at the same time. God knows I have shipped characters in the past that have pretty messed up relationships. So there's nothing inherently wrong with it as long as you do recognize that it's messed up.
Yeah, I am a big fan of mess generally, but I also think that shipping it's such a personal thing. Once again, we cannot ship as the Hive, guys. It's going to feel differently to everyone.
Yeah, and exactly. And it's a very personal thing.
It is a very personal thing. And so it's like, while I can't begrudge people their feelings and their vibes, it's like, I'm not feeling it yet as something I want. Like, I'm not there yet for me.
Me too.
The story hasn't gotten me to that point yet.
I want to be there. Damn it, I want to be there, but I don't feel like I can be.
Yeah, I'm not there yet, but I would love to be there. So I'm very curious to see how this all is going to unfold.
Definitely.
But let's talk about this Zosia scene where she kind of reveals a little bit about her past, because
my God,
we've been wanting to hear about Zosia's past for a long time.
Oh, we bring it up all the time, so I appreciate the gift.
Yeah, and I wonder too, like, is this the first time that Carol has asked or that she's attempted to get this information out of her? Because it feels like, because we're being shown this moment, it's important for that reason.
Yes. Yeah.
She accesses a childhood memory, which I think is interesting.
Very.
Her favorite food is mango ice cream, because this is what the merchants by the docks would be selling, and they would give the poor children the mango ice cream or the ice cream or whatever. So we do now know that Zosia did come from poverty. We do know that she actually grew up in Poland.
Yeah, which Carol and Vidra did, so that makes sense.
Yes. But she said she would watch the ships leave the docks, which was very piratey, I must say.
Very piratey.
But this is the moment that I thought was the most interesting, when she said, I always wondered where they were going. And she says, and now I know. And to me, Jen, this kind of changed the way I feel about Zosia and the Hive, because Zosia, that's Zosia. It's not like the real Zosia is buried in there in a coma, you know, like kind of like what we prior thought. These are all zombies and their real personalities have been suppressed. No, she's saying, now I know. And she's happy. She's like, I have been so fundamentally altered as a person that she isn't Zosia anymore, obviously, but she's aware of it. She's aware of what she used to be like and what she's like now.
Yeah.
You know,
I think it's a fascinating scene. And I think that when Carol asks Zosia's favorite food, and when Zosia can't remember for a moment, but like you say, she's accessing that memory. And when she remembers it, there's this moment of like delight and surprise, I think, that we see in Zosia. Mango ice cream. Like, oh, wow. It's like, it's all coming back to me now.
Yeah.
And it is all kind of coming back to her now. And it's a very vivid memory, and love the Zosia lore that we're getting from it. But I find it interesting that it doesn't feel like a factual reading of like a computer program remembering something, which is what I'd expect from the Hive mind. It feels like an emotional memory. Yeah. Like she remembers the feelings. She's feeling the feelings that she had back then, which I think is significant and feels very much like how a real human individual would feel when remembering something like this. So I want to think that something is happening to Zosia, maybe because of her relationship with Carol, who knows, that she's starting to become, to have this ability. She's starting to generate this ability to be individual Zosia and to feel those feelings that Zosia would feel. And yes, I want to believe that this is happening and that she wouldn't have necessarily responded this way at the beginning of this episode.
Yeah. It's almost like there are a certain amount of things that could happen. Like she could do, as you're saying, like remain hive mind Zosia, but begin to develop a little bit of personality, but she's still part of the Hive, right?
Yep.
She could somehow break free from the Hive, but then what happens? Does she forget all of the knowledge, or does she still have all the knowledge? Is she still fundamentally changed as a person? Like, I think the one thing that doesn't happen, although it could be wrong, this is also a possibility, is that she just reverts back to Zosia before the joining. I mean, that's possible, but I feel like if you're changing as a person, like I believe has actually happened, like she's actually just physically changed as a person, how can you just kind of unchange like that?
That's a really good question. I mean, there's so much to ask. I mean, Carol's goal throughout this has always been to undo this. But as time goes on, the undoing is going to have unpredictable consequences, I think.
Right.
It would have been one thing for it to happen on day 2, but when we're on day 60, who knows what effect that would have?
Yeah. It's super interesting to think about how her goals might change as time goes by. But I mean, look, this brings us all to the arrival of Manousos, because Zosia suddenly has a look on her face like she's checking out and they're communicating. And she almost, Jen, she almost looks disappointed to have to tell her. She
does look disappointed. She looks quite disappointed to me.
To have to tell her that you're going to have a visitor, because first of all, they've withheld this information for weeks from Carol. And it's almost like Zosia is realizing in the moment that like, this has to end. This party's over.
I'm about to lose my girlfriend is almost like the vibe I'm getting there.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And it's but they have no choice. You know, they can't lie.
They can't keep putting it off forever.
And he's going to show up. So, and look, Jen, okay, we're going to talk about Manousos really quick, but did I call it? Didn't I say I'm going to call it? Because even though he hasn't walked up to the door and introduced himself to Carol, we see that he is literally like at the border. He's going to be there in mere hours.
I'll give you full credit. You did predict it would be the end of episode 8 when they met, and you were almost right.
Okay, I will say I was 90% there.
I'll give it to you, because that was several episodes ago when you made that prediction. I can't remember. We're going to have to go back to the transcripts, I think, and find out when you actually predicted it. But you were pretty bang on.
But all to say that at least we're not going to have the meeting at the end of the finale. Like we know they're going to meet. So.
Definitely going to. I mean, we've set the table. I'd be very curious to know what exactly Zosia said to Carol after she said, you know, you're about to have a visitor. Well, how did she explain it? Like, I would love to know. We're probably not going to see that, but that would be a pretty complicated explanation about who's coming to visit her.
Well, and I think Carol though might figure it out, and that could help bolster her desire to kind of back away from the hive and go back to her mission. Like the idea that they lied to her, the idea that they withheld this information is going to piss her off, because she's going to know he's going to be like, I have been traveling to see you for weeks. I have been coming, and she's going to be like, weeks? Like, you got my letter? No one ever told me? Yeah.
No one told me this. And it's going to piss her off, I think. She's going to be mad at Zosia and the hive. I think it definitely will put her in a different perspective towards how this has been going. If she has been falling for the delusion, which who wouldn't? Yeah. She probably has to some extent. I got to think that this will pull her out of it to a large extent. But, you know, now we know Manousos is almost there. If we had known that, you know, several episodes ago, we'd have, like we were saying earlier, a very different expectation of what this meeting was going to be. But now things are different and complicated. And then Manousos is not going to be... Manousos would have been mad even to know that Carol was even speaking to the hive.
Yeah, let alone
sleeping with the hive.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be... he's going to be none too impressed. He's a very black and white guy, I think.
Yeah. Yes, I agree.
He's not going to be too interested in any shades of gray here. So it's going to make things a little more complicated between them than we might have expected them to be. But I cannot wait to see what happens and how that unfolds.
Oh my goodness, the finale already. Well, I have one more thing to say before we wrap this up. This was a real long one. And this is sort of the end of the game in this episode, right? Carol kind of lost. I think that's kind of how I read it. But like the hive, because I do think at the end of the day, the hive is being manipulative and they're doing what they can, means to an end. They can genuinely love her at the same time as manipulating her. But I wanted to point out, because I mean, people listening might be like, why are you guys so anti-hive? Okay. First of all, there is definitely like Carol is the protagonist, the hive is the antagonist. That's the first thing. Yep. Secondly, though, the reason that I feel like I personally point out these things, like all these things that the hive's doing that's manipulative or whatever, and maybe not as many that Carol's doing, is because unlike Carol, they have this sort of veneer of benevolence, of
absolutely
altruism. Oh, we're good and we never do any bad things, blah, 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 blah. So it just
perfect.
Yeah, it feels more necessary for me to point out when they're being underhanded than when Carol is. I have to bring that up because I've had conversations with people. They're like, well, Carol's being manipulative too. Yeah, she's human. They're the hive. Yeah. So when they're showing signs of being manipulative, it makes me suspicious of them.
Well, absolutely.
Everyone's telling me I shouldn't be.
Yeah, no, I know is all I can say. My strong argument to that is, well, no.
Okay, good.
To me, it seems self-evident that the hive is not a good thing. But everyone is welcome to their opinion and their interpretation.
I mean, look, I see a lot of stuff on Twitter, Jen. I see a lot of stuff,
and
a lot of it.
Like,
why isn't Carol saying please to the hive? No, fuck you.
No, but I know people can feel however they want to feel. No.
That's the beauty of a world without the hive.
Exactly. We are not hive people, as you said earlier. We can all see things differently, and we do. And that is the beauty of art. It means different things to different people. And I mean, this is the beauty of Pluribus as a show. It has had such a wonderful effect on the viewers and on how people talk about the show and how people talk to each other about the ideas in the show, and does it all and in an amazingly entertaining and fascinating way at the same time.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the I hope I don't regret saying this when I watch the finale, but I think it's one of the all-time great shows so far.
I agree.
On television, in all of television. I'm going to put myself right out there. It's for me, it's one of the top shows I've ever watched.
I agree. I mean, I don't even think that you're being hyperbolic. I think you're being when I look back and I think of how critical and nitpicky that we get about all the X-Files episodes that we talk about, as fabulous and as amazing as X-Files is.
Yeah,
there are many nits to pick. There have been relatively few in Pluribus.
Really few. The only question is, how are we going to stick the landing? And I have every reason to think they will, but there's a lot you can screw up in a finale. We may have seen that before in another show that we do a podcast about, and multiple more than once somehow. So I gotta hold back. I'm trying to hold back my excitement, but so far, I just, it's been brilliant. And I'm not just saying that because we happen to have a podcast about Pluribus, because we went into this planning this podcast without knowing anything about what the show would be like, whether we would even like it particularly.
Right.
I thought there was good reason that we would, but we were going to do this because we knew it would be an interesting show to discuss. And the fact that I love it as much as I do has been a very happy bonus.
Agreed. Well said. Well said.
Thank you. Thanks.
Well, thank you guys, whoever stuck with us this whole time. We really, really appreciate you.
We just have a lot to say.
There was a lot to say about this one. I knew this was going to be a long one.
What are we going to do for the finale?
I know it's going to be treacherous, but we will make it through, Jen.
We're going to make it through, and we're going to do it over the Christmas period.
I know. It'll be Christmas Carol for us.
It's going to be Christmas Carol for us. Yeah. So, if you're listening to this before Tuesday, remember. The episode's going to drop on Tuesday night, the 23rd, the finale, and it'll be. I'm going to make no predictions. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah. Well, tweet at us, Blue Sky, all that stuff, Pluribus Pod, or you can send us an email, pluribuspod@gmail.com. Please rate, leave reviews, Apple Podcast. Really, really helps us out. We will be back with you for the finale of Pluribus next week on Pluribus Diaries.
Bye.